why doesn't your mom or your aunt want you to play outside when you're 7? What is that about? And what does that do to you now when you're 13? So all of those things, it's about pushing it back, and for us it's about opening that dialogue and using that energy, that sense of hopelessness to motivate, to put a little fire underneath and to push.
And then I wish I would work for an after school program, non-profit organization. I would love to get kids that as people label they are at risk. They know what's right and what's wrong, even though they might not have their role models at home. They know and they are looking for it outside. So if they go to safe places like the organizations that you guys work for, at the end of the day, they know when they go home it's not going to be a good time, but they have somewhere safe to hang, and that's why Afro Reggae is being so successful in Rio. I really love when I'm at the school and the counselor comes to me and says, "Oh, do you see this so-and-so? Be careful, keep an eye on it. She's known for being abused at home, and she might give you some work." And those are the ones that usually are the, let's say, the flower in the garden of in the classroom. When you see them smiling, because they are negative most of the time, but you know that inside there is a sense of happiness, of belonging to a group. So I just love when I get those kind of kids, and I'm sure Damian has seen many more, even better examples, because here, fortunately, we don't go into the details of kids having guns, and in Rio, their life expectancy is 22 years old when they're involved in drug dealing, right? So anyways, I just think I love when I get a troublemaker kid,
And just to add to it, without getting too philosophical, since we're all working with kids in order to prevent violent situations in their lives, you can't measure what doesn't happen. So in terms of prevention, for example, the kids that we have in our building during the week that are with us in a safe space and other programs throughout the city are not getting into trouble while they're with us. So we don't know what we're preventing, but we know we're preventing something bad from happening. So even just thinking about that in terms of, well, is what we're doing working? Well, yeah, because they were here for 4 hours today instead of off on the street doing who knows what. So even just on that simple level, it helps me. So.
At risk is a funny word to me, because we were all at risk. At 15, every single one of us was at risk. It's just that some of us had after-school programs, or someone at home, or a teacher who turned us on to drama, or we were good at sports, or we loved reading, and some of us didn't. So the word at risk to me, and it's always at risk, sort of what's left off is that image. When I say at risk, sort of who do you picture? And we don't often picture, right, and what in this country, what color is their skin, what neighborhood are they from, and we don't often think about everyone was at risk, or we were all at promise, which is the other way to look at it. We were all at promise. And every young person goes through feelings of depression and anxiety and all those things. Some of us have real positive ways to deal with that through music, through arts, through sports. Some of us don't. And then the easier access you have to drugs and guns, and if everything around you sort of points to dealing with it in one particular way, then that is all you know. So at risk always, in my own head, is a little chuckle.
Yeah.
And how did these kids receive you in their communities there in Rio?
In Rio, I've never had a problem in a community in Rio, and it's interesting. I think that's something you get from being a foreigner. You have a novelty value, so you don't come with the social baggage that I would. I could go probably in London, where I'm from. I might have a tougher time with kids, because they'd be, "Oh, you're white, oh, you're middle class, oh, you had stuff we didn't have," and they immediately they put you on a different level. But in Rio, there's like, "Oh, it's a gringo, yeah. It's great," and then it doesn't matter. And it shows really, to me, what it shows is that color and class distinctions are based on local, social, the way your socialization is formed in the society you grow up in, and how you see your neighbor, and how you're all competing with each other. Because when you come from outside and you're dropped in somewhere, it doesn't matter what color you are, you're just foreign. And if you're a novelty, it's all the better.
Have any of these music programs been inspired by the Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra program in Venezuela? And if so, what did you learn from that program?
Yeah, as far as Afro Reggae goes, I don't think so, but there are similar ones. They have one in a community called Parada de Lucas, where they've started work about 5 years ago with violins, and now they're moving towards a full string orchestra. But I don't think it was actually inspired by the Simon Bolivar. But I know of the Simon Bolivar because I've seen them in England. They've come and played in England, and they've set up orchestras in Scotland, I think, in some rough parts of Scotland, that have been very successful. So I know it's a successful model, but in terms of Rio, I don't know if anything was based on that model.
It's also a model that it is coming to the States. There is El Sistema Americas, and actually Marcus might be working with them, I think.
Yeah.
But it is a model that if you do enough digging, similar structures have happened in places like Colombia and in other parts of Brazil, where taking a youth orchestra and finding that structure, so there's something systematically that works and makes sense about it based on certain communities. And looking at that particular structure of Venezuela and how it was born and grew, you can see it happening throughout the world. Whether or not they knew about it, it seems that it grew more organically, and there was just something about that particular one that worked.
And it's so cool you're asking this question, because the music that Afro Reggae plays is also uses the samba reggae tradition, right? And this initiative they're doing in the United States, the El Sistema USA, and they're actually using a lot of these ideas that are being done at Afro Reggae. They did a training in London too. It's maybe we need to back up a little bit, but there's a program that they are hand selecting a few people to start in different communities in the whole country, to start a music program based on what's happening at the Abreu Fellowship in Venezuela, yeah. And then, fortunately, they are using this samba reggae drumming tradition, because they see that first of all, drumming is so powerful, it's so easy to connect to, so it's easy to engage kids very fast, and then once again from there you can work with them in an individual basis, yeah. But the same thing that my boss, Rick Sanders, spoke to the El Sistema teachers, I'll say here, the Venezuela project is so successful over there, is by the simple fact that they had passionate people that wanted to make a difference. They had good teachers that made it interesting to teach music. If you ask a kid outside, like, do you like classical music? Do you listen to classical music? They're gonna say no. But it's not that classical music is boring. I think it's just that the teachers are more or less accommodated. More or less accommodated. It's a safe zone. I'm union protected. You can't touch me. And so then they don't make it interesting, and that's why in many places the music programs are not doing very well. So that's why it's successful in Venezuela, because there are people with passion that are doing a great job over there. And I do think in an optimistic way that things are going to change because of people like you guys are doing a great job over here, and people at Afro Reggae also.